In today's tutorial, learn how to make an entrelac square just like this, where we build the blocks basically in a complete circle, very much like a granny square, going around and around, and you can change the colors as often or as little as you wish, and when you use color transitional yarn, looks amazing. So let's begin to do that next. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. What we're going to be doing today is going to be doing entrelac in the square. This is when an entrelac blanket is perfectly square, where the blocks build on each other in a complete circle. So you can see that we have yellow in the middle, and then we go around and then around and around. This makes for a perfectly square afghan. We have 4 video tutorials for this kind of concept. So this is afghan in the square. We also have afghan in a rectangle. So for example, say you have a bedspread and you don't wish to be square because a square blanket like this will not fit on a twin size. I have figured out all the math, so that's afghan in a rectangle. Also, some people like to have their rows going all the way across to being the same instead of going around in a circle, so they like to go back and forth. So we have afghan in the rows, and then for those that would like to finish off their afghans perfectly, I have afghan the entrelac borders just like so, to be able to fill it in with half triangles so that you have that there, because most people don't like that jagged border. So that's going to be coming up next. But today we're going to be doing the entrelac in the square. Now you may think I'm kind of weird, but that's okay. I'll allow you to have that for me today. So the entrelac, if you were ever in a class with me in real life, I always describe entrelac as 5-pin bowling. These are pins. So if you didn't think I was weird already, this is my sad attempt for pins. This is the bowling alley. You're standing here about to get a strike. Yahoo! So what we have with the entrelac is that it's based on the number of 7. So let me write 7. Okay, so 7 is your magic number. It's like a Mickey Mouse. I got 7 at one time with the flies. So what I want you to think about this is that you have 5 pins here, okay? And you have a gutter and a gutter, okay? And in the front of the line, this is where you're standing, there will be a gutter and a gutter. Okay, so what happens here is that there's a magic number of 7. So you have gutter, which is 1, the 5 pinch, which is 5, and then the gutter on the other side, which then equals your 7. So basically you have gutters, you have 5 pins and a gutter. Okay, that's how I get my 7. So in the horizontal direction, that's what it is. So in the vertical, you have a gutter, 5 pins and a gutter. So how does that relate? So what we're going to be doing is that this is the diagram that I'm working on, and we do one square at a time. And if you can keep in mind the bowling alley concept, it makes it really easy to follow. So for example, say we want to build another block based on my gutter system right here, and we want to build another block on top like this. So what you have to keep in mind is that the first time that when we go to start off, we're going to be chaining 7 because we're just starting. But every time after this, we're only going to be chaining 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Why is that? The reason for that is a 5-pin bowling. If this is a gutter, okay, the other gutter must be on the other side. Okay, so you have a gutter is already there, so you have your 6 right here. Okay, so you have your 5 pins plus your gutter, so that gives you a total of 6. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so every time you're going to finish a block, basically the gutter is already established on whatever block that you're attaching to. So if I attach a block here and I come in, okay, this gutter is part of this one, so then you'll have your 5 pins, okay, and a gutter. So you'll be chaining 6 for that. So if you can understand that particular concept, it's actually a lot easier. My whole thing when I'm going to look at these things and how they attach together is that basically I think about 5-pin bowling. So what happens here, if you really carefully look at it here, is that we have our first block right in the middle, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's your 5 pins. Your gutter is the join and your gutter is the join. So how many rows up do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's your gutter of the join, and here's your gutter of the join. Does that make sense? So here's the thing. even though we're using the concept of 7, which is typical for entrelac, you can do any size that you wish. So for example, say you wanted to do say 12. I'm pulling out a number. So what's gonna happen is that you'll have 10 pins, a gutter, and a gutter to equal your 12. So when you go to do the number of rows, there will be 10 rows up, and then there will be 10 of these things going across before you hit your gutters on both sides. So as long as you always keep it in square by thinking about it as a bowling alley, it makes a lot of sense. Well, at least it does to me. So I guess let's get started on the diagram, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So now that I've done my bowling thing for you, you may think I'm weird, but it does work when you visualize it, is that we're going to start off just here, and we're going to be chaining across, and we chain our 7. Okay, because this is the very first block, so we have to at least establish the gutters on both sides, and then come all the way across, and then keep going back and forth until we have the number 5. The number 5 is the one of the most trickiest things that you need to make sure that you stop before you go any further from when you get to 5. And then we're going, and these things are slip stitches, so we slip stitch ourselves going all the way back, and then we start the next block going around. We're gonna talk about the magic L, and the magic L needs to be established every time that you don't see an L, and we'll cover that in just a moment. Today I'm gonna be using Bernat roving yarn. Today, as we've talked about in the Tunisian series, is that you have to look at the ball band. It's recommending a size 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, size K, but with Tunisian we always have to increase our sizes at least 2 sizes. I'm using a 10 millimeter size N for this particular yarn today, and it does a really nice concept, and it turns out really great. So you have to increase your hook size, so don't follow the ball band for when you're doing your Tunisian. So without further ado, let's begin, and we're just going to start off with a slip knot, and let's begin. So we're going to just insert our Afghan hook in, and you need to have a little bit of distance, especially with the thicker yarns. For thinner yarns such as this other example, I can actually do this with the regular crochet hook without it being a Tunisian hook, because I can get all of that onto my hook without it bothering me at all. So let's begin. We're going to chain 7. Remember that the 1 on the hook does not count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's establish the first one. We're gonna come second chain from the hook, and we're just gonna turn it around and get the back hump of that second one in, and pull the yarn through. So yarn over, pull through, and just leave it on your hook. Slide it down your shaft just like so, so that the thickness is matching. So if you leave it down here, the thickness will not be consistent. So let's go into the next one, pulling it through and slide just to get that tension there. Okay, so we continue to do that all the way across. Now if I chain 7, how many should there be? That's right, there should be 7. And in the bowling alley theory is that there will be 5 pins plus 2 gutters, which gives you a total of 7. Just like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I've run out of chain, so the 2 are my gutters, and the middle are the bowling is the pins itself. So let's move up to the next row. So moving up, just on this block only, you're going to do this concept. So only on this block, you're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop only, and then yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2 and 2 and 2 all the way back. Okay, so that was row number 1. Okay, so you can kind of see what's going on here. You see your 5 pins in the middle, you see your gutters on both sides. So let's begin our next rows. It's a simple stitch. So we just insert into the vertical thing, it's 1 strand, insert into the vertical, pull through, and we do that all the way across. And how many should there be by the time you get all the way across? That's right, there should be 7. So on the very final one here, you go into the chain, okay, and there should be 2 strings, pull through, okay, and now you have your 7 back on your hook. So there's your 5 pins in the middle with 2 gutters. So then yarn over, pull through 1 only, and then yarn over and pull through 2, and do that all the way back. Okay, so the next one, let's begin again. So we're just gonna insert into the first, so you don't see me chaining or anything, you just insert into the first one, It's a simple stitch, and you keep doing that all the way across again. Okay, and then remember the outside, it's a chain, so there will be 2 strings. If you go into 1 string, you'll have this unsightly gap on the edge of your work, so make sure you go into 2 and then yarn over, pull through 1. And we keep doing this until we get to the level of 5, and 5 is when you have to pay attention the most. 5 is when I screw up the most when I'm doing this on my own. So let's insert, and the only reason why I do that is that I need to verify the count each and every time. So if you have for example, if you do a larger one that requires maybe 10 rows or even more, I like to physically count just to make sure I'm not out of balance. And remember, come into the edge one. So there's my 7 again, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So you'll start to see it curling up on you. Don't worry about it, no big deal. Okay, so how many rows do I see here? I have 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th. Okay, so I got 4th so far, so let's insert into the next. And I can tell that it's almost the 4th too, because this is almost square coming into the edge. Okay, yarn over, pull through 1 only, and then continue. Yarn over, pulling it through 2. So I think I might have my 5th in here. Okay, so it's almost square. So what you can see here is that you see 1, 2, see I'm counting these grains, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th. Now the 5th does not look done, does it? You can see right through it. So what you have to do for this one on the 5th is that you have to start the slip stitching to fasten off. Okay, we don't physically fasten off if you don't want to change colors, but if in this case, because we are the center square, we will want to fasten off because I want to change my colors. So we insert into the first one and yarn over and pull through that one plus the other loop. It's kind of like a bind off. And what you need to pay attention to the most, do not be tight with this. It's easy to have to make these really tight. You will regret it afterward, because you have to go back into these when you go to join other stuff to it in the future. And so if you're tight now, you will be fighting it later. And I can't say that enough. So you come right into the final. Okay, you see the 2 strings, pull through and through, and that is your first middle block done. Okay, so the way that I had you do it is that you can see that there's beautiful stitching on all 4 sides of this to be able to attach. Okay, so what I want you to do at this point is that I want you to fasten off this particular item. Okay, so I just cut it, and I'm just gonna yarn over and just pull it through, and I'm deal with my loose ends afterward. And so that's what it looks like at this point. So this is the center. So I'm gonna show you the next rotation going all the way around. When moving on to other blocks, we need to look for the L. So right now we've finished off with the yellow block right here, and we're going to start off with the next one. The problem is that we do not see an L when we go to start with, and I'll be explaining that to you in a moment. So what we have to do is that when we go to start, we're going to chain 6 and we're gonna come up. Okay, and what we're going to do is that we're gonna work our way back to this block each and every time and join it. So by chaining 6, you're actually getting the L shape that you need. Okay, this does not need to be done every time we do a block, only when an L doesn't exist. So for example, say we're coming along on the middles. So where we don't need to do it is when we come across the middle, is that we're going to be slip stitching here, and the L is actually right here as we go. Okay, so we have to look for that each and every time, and hopefully that'll make sense in just a moment. But let me start off with the next color, and I'm gonna start off with the Slipknot. I prefer that for myself. It just is good. So I can start off in any corner. It doesn't matter because I know this is completely square. Okay, so I'm going to start off right in this corner here. No rhyme or reason, I just can because I just picked it. So I'm just gonna put both strands over and pull through. Okay, so that does not count as any one any one at all. So I want to chain 6. So, and reason why we're doing the 6, remember I explained the bowling alley. So this is the one gutter on this block here, and so if I do 5 plus 1 for the other gutter, it's only 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So as I just explained earlier, we have the L shape. So the L is existing. Do you see it? It's kind of backwards. Okay, so it's L, or it could be a V in your opinion, it doesn't matter, but either way you need to look for that. So if you do not have the L shape to work with, you have to create it by chaining 6. Okay, and in this particular revolution we have to create it each and every block, but going forward we only create it when it's on the corners. To begin the next one is just like we did as if this block does not exist. We come in second chain from the hook and we yarn over and pull through. Okay, and then come into the next one and yarn over, pull through. So in the bowling alley what we have here is that we're collecting all the pins right now. We're right in the middle. So we should have, if we chain 6, we should have 6 of these loops on this before we attach it to the block. So there's 6. So the next one is right where we attached it, and that is your 7. Okay, so here's your, so the gutter is already attached to this one. Here's your gutter this side. Here's your 5 pins. So yarning over and pulling it through 2. So this time we do not yarn over and pull through 1 loop to start and then 2 and 2 and 2. We just immediately yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so let's see how we're coming across. So let's start into the next one. Again, and it's a simple stitch. That's all this is, coming all the way across. Okay, so you have your 6 on here. Okay, so there's the gutter out, there's your 5 pins. So your next one is the next row up in the block. Okay, you just loop around it and then just yarn over and pull through 2 all the way back. So once you get this, the first block, it's actually easier just to follow the rest of them. So let's go to the next one. So we're just simple stitching again back. So because we're doing the simple stitch, I told you you can just change the sizes. They end up being square to each other, so it's okay to change your lengths of your chain and to make bigger squares if you wish. So there's your 6 on there. The 7th is the block. So we moved up again another row in the block, and then yarning over, pulling it through 2. Okay, coming back. Okay, there's your 6. The next one is the next one higher in the block. So I want to just verify my count so far. So I'm gonna open this up and just look at it. Okay, so I have, and I'm just counting the grains that you can see. So 1, 2, 3, this is the 4th. So remember, I only want 5 in there, because the tops and the bottoms count as the gutter, which gives you the total number of 7. Okay, there's my 6. I'm attaching to the block, pulling it through. Okay, so I want to count again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5. The 5, remember before, it looks the same. It looks like it's got a gapping space. So this time we want to do a bind off. So we're just gonna insert, pulling it through and through. Again, do not make that a tight bind off. Just make it nice and loose, because you'll be playing with that later in your particular project. Okay, so we're not done yet. We still have to bind off right to the next block. So we come into the next one on the block, as you can see, follow it up and just wrap and going around and pull through. So now you can see that this block is completely attached to the next one, and we're ready for the next round. Okay, so the next block to make this is actually just up here. the next one is out here, and the next one is down like a cross. So to begin the next, do you see an L? No, you don't. So you have to create it. So every time you do not see an L to work with, you have to create it by chaining of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, it's the same concept, second chain from the hook. We want to start collecting all your stitches again and working your way back. Now the biggest deal that you have to worry about, especially in this beginning round, is that your project does not turn backwards on you. We're only working with the front sides for this particular project, so we have to make sure that this doesn't twist. And honestly, it's gonna be hard not to figure out that it's not twisting, because it looks completely different from one side to another. See, you don't see any of the vertical strands like you do here. Okay, so we have our 6 in, and the 7th, okay, is the block. Okay, so it's the white block there, and so then we yarn over and pull through 2, and we do that all the way back. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn my project. So the grains in this one here went appear to be vertical or horizontal. These ones here will appear to be going vertical. So you'll notice that the grains go in a different direction depending on what side of the project you're working on. And side not meaning front or back, just meaning on how it's turned. So I'm just collecting all my stitches going back, and again coming into the block here, I move up to the next row to wrap, and then pulling it through 2. You get that? So what I'm gonna do is that I'm just going to speed ahead, and because I think that you should understand the concept by now, but we're not quite done. We still have to take you through another round, because then that's when it all comes together for a complete understanding on how it works in between the corners. Because right now we're creating the invisible L, but once you move up into the rounds of this, the L is actually there for most of it other than the corners, and I want to show you how to identify that. Okay, so it's a very easy concept. It's a lot easier than I expected. I've seen and read other tutorial patterns that are really tough, really complicated, but so I try to simplify it with the bowling alley theory, because I'm very visual and that's what I need to learn. So I'm just naturally wanting to go all the way back. I'm looking for the height of the block on the middle white one to kind of give me an idea where I am in the project. So I think I'm on 4 because I'm almost done the white block. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually this is the 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5th. So I was further ahead than I thought. So I'm gonna do the bind off. Again, don't do a lot of tension. Okay, and then the next one is right into the final bind off is right into the next block. Okay, so there it goes. So we begin again and just simply chain 6 because there is no L to work with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then simply second chain from the hook. So continue to do this all the way around, and I'm gonna meet you back up at the final of this particular round of coming around. So I'm gonna do this block and this one, and then I'll show you what's gonna happen, because I have to explain something before we go on. So I'm just finishing up the last one before I'm done this particular round of the squares. Now this is, I'm actually filming this because I really want you to see the point of why you cannot go any further on this particular round. And it's not because there's another square already in the way. And the reason for it is that, and I'm just gonna bind off like I did before. So the reason for it is that right now, I'm just gonna pull some slack, is that I told you that we need to look for an invisible L. Do you see an L here? It's right here. Okay, so you can see that the L's are in shape. So right now, because where we have finished is right in the center of an L, we have to fasten off. We don't have a choice because we can't start right where we are for the next round. Okay, so regardless of it being a different color or anything, we physically cannot start here. Okay, because if we go to try to chain up any stitches, you can't, because you've already got basically you can see that you've already got the upper motion, and then you're gonna work your way across. So you're physically in the middle, so just fasten off. Now I have actually tried in the past where I slip stitched myself across the line in order to begin the next one. You will always see it. I don't care how good you are, you're always gonna see it. So you have to be very conscious of that. So just fasten off, save yourself the aggravation, and get your next color ready, because we're about to go around. And next time when we go to start, so the blocks that are gonna join up here, there is no L, so we're gonna have to create it. When we're in the middle, the L is already there. Okay, there's gonna be no L here because it's an outside, and then there's an L there. So it actually becomes, if you can physically see that, it's just a lot easier. So without further ado, let's move on to your next round. So where do we start in the next one? Well, it's either or. Either way you have to do all the blocks anyway, but are you gonna start off by doing it so that you already have the L, or are you gonna do it with having to create the L? Either way, it doesn't matter. So just for speeding you up in tutorial reasons, I'm gonna start where there's already an L. And how we do that is that we're going to start off with the slip knot. So we're gonna come in, insert it into the hook here, and what we're going to do is that we're just gonna come into the very corner of the block. Okay, so just look at it here, right into the very corner, and just insert your hook in. Now if you bound off too tight, it'd be harder to get that hook in, but I was kind of generous with that. So I just want to fasten on. So just gonna pull through, and so that's the first one. So remember the bowling alley technique. This would be a gutter. There should be 5 pins, and then the next block should be the other gutter, which is number 7. So let's begin. We're just gonna insert into this block, okay, into each stitch coming across. Yarn over and pull and collect. And you do that all the way across the block. So this is just like you were to do it as if you were going across on the chain. Okay, and okay, so we've gone all the way across the top of the block. You can see the 5 pins that are there, and then we need to come to the joining block on the other side. So so look at it here. So you're here, this is part of this block. You need to go into this block here. Yarn over and pull through. So now we should have our 2 gutters and our 5 pins. You see that? Total of 7. So yarn over and pull through 2 for all the way back. Okay, so let's begin again. So just like you did before, it's just a simple stitch, Tunisian simple stitch coming across. In abbreviations it's called TSS if you're ever looking for that Tunisian simple stitch. Coming all the way across, again moving up the block like you have already in the past. So this is basically filling in that space. So I'm just going back again. So I don't bother to count the rows. I physically count it when I think I have enough. My biggest thing when I first started doing entrelac is that I was always creating one too many rows across. So I've gotten better just to visualize it and then physically count it and then just double check. So I'm coming back across again. I would say that the bigger yarn and the hook will make your project go faster. It doesn't always look great in the thinner yarns, but if you're looking for a relatively quick afghan, I don't mind these things and it looks really amazing. So I want to count, so 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, so this must be the 5th that I'm about to start. Okay, and coming across to the next block. So this must be number 5. You can see it's almost close to the other size anyway. So that helps you give an indication. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just counting the grains up, and then just do a bind off again. Don't be hard on yourself with making it more difficult. So we filled in the block when the L shape was there, but now we're ready for the next block, but there is no L. So remember that we have to bind off to the next block before we restart. So let's begin again. So you do not see an L shape right now, you just see a flat line, so we have to create that. So chaining a 6, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and this is what you already know. Just second chain from the hook, start collecting, going back. Okay, you should have a total of 7, which includes the block that you're attaching to. Okay, there's your 5, this is 1 gutter, and then here's your 6, which is the block. Okay, and then just keep doing that all the way. So I'm gonna just get through this block, and then I'll meet you back up and start you on the next block, which is right down in here, which is, you can see the L is already there. So a few moments ago I left you and I wanted to finish this block off camera, which I did, and I'm just binding off now. So I'm making my way all the way down. I've got my 5 in there. And I'm making myself, and remember when we bind off all the way, we go into the next block as well. So right into that block. So right now at this point is that I'm looking at it, do we see an L? Yes we do, we see it right here. So we only need to create the chain when we cannot see an L in the shape. So for example, right now we have the very center point, so all these ones in the middle between the corners all have the L's there. It doesn't matter what size of Afghan that you're on, each one in the middle will have that. So you just kind of like diamond, do a diamond shape all the way across basically. So we're going to start off and we're just going to start collecting the next set. Okay, so we're just going right into the block that already exists. Okay, and I want to make sure that I'm getting my 7. So 1 2 3 4. Okay, so I'm just collecting so that I get my 7 on there. Sometimes you gotta count. Just, it is what it is. So 3 4 and 5. Okay, and then I want to do it to the join right there. So there is my 7. Okay, yarn over and pull through 2. So these ones I like doing better than doing the chaining of 6. It's either way, it's no big deal, just a personal preference. So you just do it the same concept, just filling it in, doing your rows of 5 or 5 rows, coming all the way across and just joining it to the next section. So when I'm done this particular one here, I'm going to be at the top here. Again, there's not going to be an L, so I got to create it, and then I'll be back down into the middles section. So hopefully you understand that it becomes really easy. And at the end of this particular round, it's just like what you did before when we did the color, is that we get back to the center, and when we finish off, we're going to be at the point that will be in the middle of the invisible L again, and because of that we have to fasten off and restart. So you can either choose the same color and just fasten on to any of the particular points that you want to. You can either start off with an L or just create your own, it doesn't matter. Or you can change colors. Either way, do not slip stitch it to get yourself reset. It just will be very obvious within your work. So to reiterate one more time, so I just finished this last block. We're going to start the next. I don't see an L, so I need to create it by chaining a 6. 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. And so you simply just keep rotating around and around and around, and you'll end up with the perfect square as you go, and it does the most amazing look when you go to finish these. You can see that it just looks absolutely amazing once you get it going, and you can do the cutest little baby Afghans with this particular concept as well. I've done a beautiful throw for my couch as well, so that's just something that you can consider for yourself. So it does an amazing look. Color transitional yarn is really quite delicious with this, and that's it. So we're gonna have another video coming up where I'm gonna show you how to do the borders and to fill it in, because most people don't like the jagged edge, like sawtooth kind of look. They prefer it to be filled in, and that's coming up in a future tutorial. So here's a completed example of what I have. This is actually called the entrelac in the rectangle, where you can see that I've created a panel that is not square by starting it off differently in the center in order to make it not square. And it's actually pretty easy when you can think about it. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. We'll see ya.